Today we're going to be tackling wiring. This is something I downloaded off the internet that is the wiring diagram, and to be honest it's just a little bit hard to follow all of the wires, even in color. So what I did is I took all the different parts and then I erased all the wires and I replicated it in Adobe Illustrator, and then I broke it down into 6 different systems, instruments, and these are just the wires for the instruments. Something like headlights. This is just the wires for the headlight system. You can see there it says headlights. And if you guys want, leave it in the comments. I'll put these files online, and they're in color, but my printer's only black and white. So I have headlights, I have the brake light system, I have the engine system, which I don't think I need to do too much work on because the bike is running. But these are just the engine wires to like the coils and the starter motor, etc. These are the control switches, which is what I really needed, because before all I had was a headlight switch, horn, and a starter button. But now I'm adding in turn signals and everything else, so I really need to figure out how those switches wire up. These are the turn signals. These are the wires just for the turn signal system, and this is a wire for all the grounds, so that I can make sure that everything is grounded correctly. So I took off the tank so that I could get access to all the wiring and see where the harness is going. If you have a CB350 and you want to take off the tank, it's really easy. You just pull this lever and open up the seat. I unscrewed the seat so I could get access to the battery and stuff without having to hold it up, but you don't have to do that. And then all it does is it hooks on. It has a little C bracket like this that kind of just hooks on and hangs on this thing basically. So you take this rubber strap, there's a little tab right here, pull this rubber strap back, and then you just slide the whole tank off of those little rubber grommets and your tank is free. You do have to disconnect your fuel lines, and there is a third fuel line from each side of the tank that connects underneath here. The first time I took the tank off, I emptied the tank, which is really advisable, but this time I was too lazy, so I just tried to pull it off real quickly and take the tank off before I spilled too much gas. It was kind of successful, but I suggest if you have the time to go and completely empty the tank and undo that wire, because that's where most of the gas is going to leak out of, because on the petcock you can put it to stop, so no gas will leak out of there, but it will leak out of these two spots. So I'm going to go over the wiring, and I'll let you guys know. As you can see, turn signal and headlight, all brand new. My old wiring right here. It's a mess. They jimmy rigged it to get the horn and the starter button to work, but I really needed to go through individually one by one and try to start labeling them and using a multimeter to go and follow the lines and see what's going on. So it's a real big headache, but hopefully the engine system is done, and I'm just doing the brake lights, the headlights, the control switches, and the signals. So wiring is really boring, so I'm just going to show you this one problem that I solved that I'm going to have to solve for every single connection. My tail light didn't come with any instructions or what any of these wires go to. Usually red is hot, green is ground, black is negative, but I don't think with motorcycles there's any rhyme or reason. So what I do is I have a little power supply there, and set it to 12 volts. You could just use a 9-volt battery, because I'm just trying to test these wires and see what makes my headlight light up. So I just started attaching the positive and negative to 2 different wires, and I found out that when this black wire is connected to negative, and either of these 2 wires is connected to 12 volts, the tail light goes on. So that means one of these is my running light, which is connected to the ignition switch, and the other one is connected to the brake switch to go on. So when both of these go on, my headlight gets bright, or my brake light gets brighter. I tried it a bunch of times, trial and error, and figured it was just quicker to pull out all this equipment because I thought green was ground, but it turned out not to be. Green turned out to be I guess a power wire. So now that I looked at the schematics and figured out exactly what is supposed to go to what, I did it that way. I also used the multimeter right here, and I connected it on resistance and started putting two wires together to see what connected. So I knew that these three wires right here connected in some way, and these other two will be for the turn signals, because this ground is actually going to be connected to all of them. So this is what we've got. We've got the wires that I just figured out, all tied in temporarily with electrical tape, because I don't want to do it permanently in case I get it wrong. So everything is going to be attached with electrical tape until I figure out the whole wiring system, and then I'll go back and do something more permanent, heat shrink and connector tubing and stuff like that. When I flip the ignition switch, the light should go on. There we go. And I actually, the old tail light or brake light connected to the fender, but since I got rid of the fender, I needed to find a way to mount this. So I actually bought some cheap zinc alb brackets and then bent it in a vise, and this is where the seat attaches to. Bent it around so that it hangs right underneath the seat, and this is temporary because I'm going to build a new seat pan anyways, and when I step on the brakes it gets brighter. See that? So there we go. So that's the first part of the job. These two wires right here, I am hoping are part of the original wiring harness or for the signals, but until I get that wired up to my control switches, I'm going to leave them blank, and I've taped off the two signal wires from the brake light itself. So it took some doing and some figuring, but I got my wiring done. Put some nylon, some pet braided sheathing over it, and have my custom LED relay flasher for my new LED turn signals. Here's the new instrument. As you can see, everything turns on. Everything's working. Headlight on and off. Headlight, high beam, turn signals, horn. Now, I don't know if I have this wired correctly. I emailed them for the instructions, but they didn't send it to me. I don't know if my fuel and battery is wired correctly. I can't use the gears, and I can switch it to miles per hour by pushing the function button on the back. But that's it. It was a pain in the butt, you know, diagnosing all of this. I was lucky that none of the wires were actually cut. It was just that they had snipped it and spliced it together to get rid of switches. Like my alternator was just wired on, and different functions that didn't exist or they didn't have controls for, they just kind of wired together to make the bike work. So that's it. I'm going to put the tank on and ride it for the first time in a few weeks. So I'm excited. You can see the mess that I made. I have to clean that up tomorrow. But yeah, a lot of figuring. But I'm really happy with the results. Oh, this is the instrument cluster right there. You can see that.